Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Franchise Tagged Podcast, kicking off Wildcard weekend. We've made it through the regular season, and we are on to
So
playoff
fast.
football.
Way too fast. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're going to be missing this soon.
Oh my god, the off season is going to drag. But it's
So
okay.
slow.
We'll be here with extra content for y'all through the off season. Not full podcast episodes. Following Super Bowl week, we'll have the final podcast of the season, and then we'll end it for the off season. We'll do some short form videos, mock drafts, off season content, everything like that. And it'll give us a little bit more time to focus on making that content really good rather than putting a lot of time and effort into the podcast every week when there's not really that much to talk about. But
Yep.
kicking us off as we normally do, going through our pick'ems. Last week I went 11-5, and that makes my final overall season pick'ems prediction record 166-106. I shouldn't have locked the Eagles. I should have never locked the Eagles, but I did. And
You were
so my lock
complaining
record,
about the Eagles before locking them.
Yeah.
It's wild.
and
I also... Go ahead.
my locks are 12-6 on the year, so it's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
You really fell off a cliff as soon as you started picking teams again, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to keep this up, by the way. Disclaimer. Next season, I will not be Okay. I picked 18, so clearly I can't go the entire next season without locking a team another time. But I'm going to make that thing last, all right? I'm trying to hit 32 teams before I repeat a lot.
So through week 14, we will not see another
Yes.
repeated team from you. Jesus Christ. All right.
That's my challenge. My pick'ems this week were 11-5, same as his. I was on the year 175-97 for my pick'ems record, and my lock record was 14-4, despite never repeating a pick.
See,
So
okay. I
That's
I
pretty
do
good.
want to point out we're very close in like overall records predictions.
Yes.
Like we're within 10 games. And the locks, I think that it's just a lot of any given Sunday can happen. And so picking a random team to win is almost as likely as picking the team that you think will win. And yeah, so making excuses
Yeah,
as
I mean,
do,
if we pick the same team all the time and we only pick the best team, you still would be. What are the Ravens? 13-4.
yeah, you
So
wouldn't. You'd be
You'd be at 14-4 ish, like me.
yeah. So
So
any whoosies.
I'm just that good.
We got a bit of a shorter topic list for today, but some good ones in there. First off, major news yesterday. Arthur Smith is gone. The Falcons fired Arthur Smith. Atlanta Falcons, they're going to have a new head coach next year. And that means that Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they might be utilized, to their
He might
potential.
actually see some targets, some touches. That'll be shocking.
And
Never
lastly,
seen that happen.
just to reiterate, Arthur Smith got fired. Yeah, anywho, I'm not an Arthur Smith fan by any stretch of the imagination. I hate the man. He's quite literally
Lorax looking homie.
the worst head coach I've ever witnessed, and I saw Urban Meyer coach the Jags. So, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he was complaining about that touchdown at the end of the game was just like cherry on top.
Yeah.
You don't want to get blown out that bad? Play better.
Do you want to get into
Coach
that?
better. Do you want to carry over with the Jameis? Do you want to get into his conversation after?
I loved his
Yeah.
opinion on it, and
For sure.
I mean, there's a scenario that I saw compared to it a little bit. There were two very different situations, and that was Ryan Tannehill. I almost said Ryan Levis. Same thing, honestly. But Ryan Tannehill was chucking him up to D-Hop because D-Hop had those incentives in his contract, and he was within like the incentives were high, but within reach. It was like 2 touchdowns, 7 catches, and like 70 yards or something. Like that's not an outrageous stat line for D-Hop to get. And so Ryan Tannehill was just kind of chucking him up to him. And after the game, he was like, I'm out of here anyways. Might as well try to, like, what are they going to do if I audible out of a play and go rogue and get D-Hop a touchdown? What are they going to do? And the reaction to that was a lot more positive than the reaction to Jameis Winston giving the ball to Jamal Williams. But I understand why, because the Saints were lined up in victory formation to kneel, and they handed the ball
and
off.
Jameis was like, yeah.
But I also understand that Dennis Smith was like, no, kneel the ball. You're not giving Jamal Williams his. What did I say?
Arthur, you said Dennis Smith.
Yes, Dennis Allen. Same thing. Same thing. Dennis Allen. He called the play. He said, go kneel. And so what are they going to do? Just line up in a completely different formation? He's going to call a timeout. So I get why people are upset, because it's kind of rude to line up like you're going to kneel it and the defense is kind of playing back and then punch it up the middle for a yard for a touchdown. I don't think Arthur Smith should have been upset. I think the players should have been upset. I don't think Arthur Smith has shit to worry about. That extra touchdown didn't
Definitely
get him fired.
Doesn't.
And it's
not anymore.
It was intercepted and returned to the 1 yard line. Oh no, he didn't get one extra yard. So they gave their favorite person on the team a touchdown.
Yeah.
Good in my
It is kind of funny that, down at the 1 and then you think, oh, we'll kneel this game out, It doesn't have to be, we don't have to do all this like extra kicks and rituals. And then no, you do. We're scoring on you. Get screwed. Yeah. The whole Jamal Williams drop off from 17 TDs to not having one until that play, that's rough. But I'm glad he at least got the one, and his teammates were behind him in that facet of the game.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of offensive play, because Jamal Williams' touchdowns last year, his 17, were from like 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 2 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, like everything.
I think he had one play or two maybe over 30 yards. It was it was.
So he was just a goal line back, and he was a damn good goal line back. But it was effective and efficient because the Lions got to the goal line a lot, and the Saints just didn't. So
Amon-Ra St. Brown got tackled at like 1 yard like 6 times. It was something outrageous.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yep.
We have another firing. We're gonna go chronologically on these firings. Small violins for the departure of Arthur Smith, and moving forward, the departure of Ron Rivera.
Another storied individual.
Yeah. It's been, 4 years that he was their coach?
Something like that. I mean, shout out to him for what he did in Carolina. Shout out to him for beating cancer. He was not a good head coach in Washington. That's it.
Shout out to... I mean, he's undefeated versus cancer at the moment. So... he's winning at life. We'll give him that.
So is Chuck Pagano.
True. Shout out Chuck.
Well, I wonder what he's up to. Mike Vrabel.
He's on the Pat McAfee show.
Oh, nice. Mike Vrabel shockingly got fired this morning. And that was after he did a lot with not very much for the Titans. And there's a lot of talk about him going back to the Patriots and becoming part of their coaching staff. And if I know you have some stuff to say about Vrabel, so I'll put a pause on that before
I'll actually lead you into something before I get into that. Well, how would you feel him coming back?
I want to talk about that
he's not a bad coach.
When we go to the next little topic, I'll talk about that a little more.
Yeah, so I was, doing some digging because we were just talking prior to the podcast, and he had been saying how, defensively they haven't done much. And I think that, yes, defensively they haven't been great. I mean, they were ranked 16th in points this season. They were 18th in yards. The bigger problem to me is the fact that offensively they were ranked 27th and 28th in those categories. And the real drop-off you see, and it's really not a surprise at all, that the offensive numbers start to drop after the departure of A.J. Brown. I was seeing, clearly last season after A.J. Brown tore them up, there was a GM fired. The GM that traded away A.J. Brown. There's videos from draft day when A.J. Brown was traded to the Eagles where Vrabel is up and he's clearly not super excited about the extra capital they're getting. He's upset that they're losing A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
So he loses A.J. Brown. I'm sure he's upset about that behind the scenes, and then that GM is then fired subsequently. Then they bring in a replacement GM. This replacement GM is newer. He's going to have way more control than the coach does. And he's a more recently vetted person by the executives. So they are going to kind of put more belief into like, okay, well, here's what this guy told us is his plan for the future. So we're going to get, Will Levis, and we're going to get these pieces, and we're going to try to like have a roster be built up slowly. And Vrabel doesn't think that he needs to build up a team slowly because they've been good since they lost AJ Brown and they needed to kind of lock in and reload. But I'm sure he still has that like winning mindset about it. And so he doesn't think going into the season like, yeah, we should just try less so that way we can get better draft capital. No. He's going in thinking this could be a Super Bowl season if we put it all together. And I think that just 2 seasons of not putting it together, compare it to Smith and Ron Rivera. Their timeline was way longer, but I think that the disagreements he might have with the other GM that was then fired, and then a new GM who maybe doesn't align with his way of thinking because he sees the roster as like kind of what it is, and Vrabel might see it more with that, player mindset of like, okay, we can get this together any given Sunday, all of this. And so they might be moving more forward with a cohesive plan. They'll get a coach that the GM likes, that he can communicate with well, and kind of do that together. Because the Lions did that with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and they are super tight-knit. They understood this is going to be a multiple-year rebuild process. It's not going to be you're out in 10 games like you're Frank Reich. So they're kind of like, I think they're shifting away from a culture that Vrabel would have been a part of and shifting into a new culture that they want to build kind of ground up. And I think that that's kind of why they're going to be moving away from him. Because defensively, defensive-minded coach, they haven't really been great. They've been serviceable, but they've been better when the offense is better. And the GMs that they had weren't making enough offensive moves to try to help anything.
Yeah.
And trading away Bayer doesn't help either.
Yeah. The offense was very good. They were the 1 seed one year, right? In the
2021,
AFC. Yeah. That was when Tannehill was kind of peaking and AJ Brown was still there, right?
Yep.
And Derrick Henry was like still in his prime for that year. And even last year, Derrick Henry didn't really take a step back. This is really the first year he's taken a step back. But
after the 1 seed year is when they traded AJ Brown. So that's even more like frustration.
Why would you do that? Like
Braves, give him his extension.
Yeah.
But
I don't really have any thoughts on the Titans. I think that they probably were aiming to replace AJ Brown with DeAndre Hopkins and try to get back to that 2021 magic, but they had a very short window with an aging Ryan Tannehill and aging Derrick Henry, and that's their core of players. And then they traded away their stud young receiver. So it was just a tough spot, and they put themselves in a tougher spot by getting an older receiver. Their quarterback got older, their running back got older, and no other part of their team really got that much better. So that can be masked if you're also bringing in a young tight end talent and bringing in other young receiver talents, and you're bringing in some young defensive talent, which they've tried to do.
Or if you're just retaining AJ Brown.
Yeah.
If you retain AJ Brown at his peak, that will mask the problems of Tannehill. That'll make Levis look better. Like, it'll just help the system in general because it's not going to have a void where it did a season prior.
Yeah. And I think that kind of translates into our What Happens and How segment. And I'm going to be starting out with the Titans and with Derrick Henry, who kind of gave a farewell speech at the end of their last game, and it was really heartfelt. And, I'm not a Titans fan, but Derrick Henry's been my fantasy football MVP for like the past 4 years, and I've always loved watching him play. And he's always just a really good player, really talented runner, defies the whole age thing, and never complains once about problems they're having. Like, he seems like the perfect player and teammate for an organization. And so I really do hope that he finds himself a contender and goes there. And I am getting this just aching feeling that that contender is going to be the Eagles, and that he's going to go
Oh,
team up with AJ Brown again and go behind that Eagles O-line and just run for 2,000 yards again. And maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. And that's just a thought that I had like right this second. I was like, oh my God, what if he goes to
hmm.
Philly? And I think that would be the only time that I wouldn't be rooting for him as hard. But I would still like, if the Eagles won a Super Bowl, I'd be like, good, Derrick Henry got him one. And kind of in that same boat, we've got Mike Vrabel, who has been rumored to, or has been included in some rumors around New England coaching and the Patriots coaching, and I don't know if you can tell, but I I have a couple
You lean
opinions.
away in that
Yeah,
conversation.
I
Yeah.
have a couple opinions here on the whole New England coaching situation and the bush that Belichick has created. And I am glad that Belichick said that he wouldn't mind relinquishing GM duties
Yeah,
if it meant that
that's
if
huge.
they decided that that was better for the team. Because I don't think he's doing anything incorrectly as a coach. He is a defensive head coach who is dealing with a ton of injuries on defense and is still putting out masterclass after masterclass of like just, hey, this seventh round rookie cornerback, yeah, he's allowed 2 completions on 18 attempts over the past 5 games. That's not an exaggeration. That happened. One of their rookie corners,
Who was that?
I can't remember who it is. I'm going to find his name right now. Yeah, seventh round pick in this past draft, Alex Austin. He, over the past 5 games, has, versus the Jets, quarterbacks targeting him, 1 of 5, 8 yards, 1 pass broken up, 2 tackles. Versus the Bills, 0 of 2 when Josh Allen threw at him, 1 interception, 3 tackles. Versus the Broncos, 1 of 2, 3 yards, 1 tackle. Versus the Chiefs, 0 of 1, 3 tackles. And versus the Steelers, 0 of 1. So he's just been, while not in a huge sample size and not having a huge volume of passes thrown his way, absolutely locked down out of the 7th round, just out of nowhere. And the Patriots have been doing this for forever. They did it with Jack Jones, and then he went to the Raiders, and he's been pretty good, but he hasn't been quite as locked down as he was on the Patriots. And I've said it for like the past 2 seasons that the Patriots just have this perfect system for DBs and corners to succeed. And Bill Belichick is a huge part of that. So if they do move off of him as a GM, I hope that they retain him as a head coach. And I hope that they bring in an offensive coordinator that does not belong on the Belichick coaching bush, even though Josh McDaniels is rumored to be trending towards
Dude,
going back
come
to the
on.
Patriots. Not as the OC. Bill O'Brien would be staying as the
Yeah.
OC. And then
The bush
Josh
congregates. They all come back.
Josh would be an assistant, an offensive assistant. And that's the heavily rumored thing. And while I hope that doesn't happen, if it means that Belichick stays as the head coach and that we get a new GM, I would do that trade-off, because there's no real way to evaluate how the Patriots offensive coordinators can do in their situation without any help of offensive players.
Yeah.
And Bill
That's certainly not where he excels. Yeah.
Bill has not done a great job of putting quality offensive players on the board, because I think in his mind, he's
Nikhil
like,
Harry, what's he up to?
I think that in Belichick's mind, right, he can take any defensive player at all and make them Pro Bowl level. And he does that with a ton of defensive players. So he is of the mindset that, oh, if I'm doing this as a defensive guy, my offensive guy should do that on the offense. He should turn any player he
Yeah.
wants into a Pro Bowler. And it just doesn't work like that unless you're
Everyone should be as good at coaching as me.
exactly. And so that's how he approaches his GM duties, and he just needs to stop that. And I think that if he does relinquish the GM duties, stays on as the head coach, I don't think we need Vrabel. As cool as it would be to have a Mike Vrabel reunion in New England, I think that we could get away with not having him, and I would be completely fine with that.
Yeah. With the other kind of like firings, openings that we could be seeing in the off season with the like coaching carousel, Where do you think Ron Rivera could go?
I think he'd be
Because
a
it's,
coordinator with like he's a defensive coach, right?
I believe so, yeah. That's my understanding.
Maybe DC of the Packers.
Ew. But yeah.
They need to bring in
You
a big
should,
name at DC. They need to get rid of Joe Barry and bring in somebody who's capable, and
yeah.
they
I
don't have
think
that right now.
I think a head coach, as nice of a segue as this is, I think honestly the Raiders would be the ones to do that if they do not keep Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce is definitely the player's favorite, but guess
Yeah,
who also was the player's favorite? 2020 interim head coach. That was Bisaccia, right?
I
Rich
don't know.
Bisaccia? No. Um, who's currently a special teams coordinator, I think, for the Packers. Um, don't fact check me on that. But Rich Bisaccia, I think, was his name. He was the Raiders interim. He got everyone fired up. Max Crosby, every Raiders player was like, "Yeah, we like this guy," and then they went like, "Too bad," and
What was their record
moved
though?
off of him.
I wonder.
I I think that considering the fact that they fired a head coach, their record wasn't going to be good, and it's an interim, so it doesn't have a full year or any off season to try to implement anything new. He just kind of has to be the like motivator. Like you have to get the team together, and so if you have a leader like that, I don't think you should let them leave because you
Yeah,
have someone who has the team all playing as one, all playing hard, all playing all four quarters regardless of the score. Now you just need to give him the offseason to work with that team and get like pick his own coaches and get a whole thing set up as opposed to, all right, we understand you were a great leader. We appreciate that. Now hit the road. We're bringing in this new guy who doesn't know the players at all and is going to be starting from scratch with them and the coaching tree that he's going to build here. I think
but
stick with your guy.
another thing is those players aren't going to be behind the new head coach. They're going to resent him for taking the job of the guy that they love. And I think if you've got Antonio Pierce here, the Raiders, right? Why would you get rid of a coach who hung 63 points on a team? Why would you do that? With Aiden O'Connell as his starting quarterback, no
Yeah.
less. Reload, get some new weapons, put that team back out there with a coach that they love at like on their side, and just go from there and see how it goes. And okay, next season they go 5-12. All right, Antonio Pierce wasn't the answer. Ship him out of there. But at least give him
Yeah.
a full season with an off season, with a a new group, because
Yeah. Give
clearly,
him some belief.
yeah,
Give him some not effort, not some give him some support in
yeah,
his role. Don't just put him in that role, say deal, and then ship him out after the fact.
yeah. There's two other names on this list, two quarterbacks, and no, I don't want to skip them.
Okay.
Kirk O'Chains, right? He has come out and said that he's willing to take a hometown discount to stay in Minnesota, and I think that they're going to do exactly that. They're just going to keep him around
Yeah.
on a short-term deal, maybe 2-3 years, and go from there. And I think that that's best because he's their guy. He's been their guy, and there's no
Yeah.
reason for them to change that.
It's crazy the slander he got as soon as he got injured. Like no one's treating Aaron Rodgers like that. No one saw Aaron Rodgers get injured, go down, and was like, "All right, we're done with you." And
Play
Kirk
with you anymore.
Chains, yeah, that came to mind. the sorry, Kirk Cousins. I'll call him by his real name at least once for this segment. Kirk Cousins, he wants to be there. He's been good for you. I mean, they've gone through their whole slew of quarterbacks issues. So I think that, if anything, shows them more so. Okay, we like Kirk Cousins. He isn't nearly as inconsistent as some of these guys we've put out there, and they should pay that. Like he should be like he could ask for so much because he's shown his importance to the team, but he doesn't need to, and he doesn't want to because he likes that group of guys. He likes Minnesota. He's gonna be there. They should be like nipping at the bud for that, the opportunity to sign him at a hometown discount.
Yeah. And I think that his concern as well is like, oh, I tore my Achilles and I'm in my late 30s. Like they're probably not
Yeah,
going to want to pay me a 5-year $100 million or 5-year $200 million deal, right? And I wouldn't either. But 2-year 50 mil, yeah, why not?
I would say 2 year 70 mil, because yeah, you're paying him, but you still have the short term flexibility with it.
Yeah, I would not
I
imagine that
don't
to be
with with
a one-time
quarterback,
discount.
but with the quarterback contracts right now, I mean, yeah, where on that do you fall for what's considered a discount these days?
He signed a 3-year $84 million deal with the Vikings, so a 2-year
But since
70
the
million.
3 years ago, high end was 40 for a year.
Three
Now the
years
high
ago,
end's
Mahomes signed a
55.
$500 million deal.
Yeah, but it was super flexible and backloaded. Was it that 3 years ago? Was that just two?
Either way, that's
Yeah,
2-year 70 sounds like a lot, but we'll see what they offer him in the offseason. And
yeah.
the problem is that he's coming off of an Achilles tear,
Achilles, yeah.
and that's not an injury that a lot of people come back from, especially of that age. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of risk
Him,
on it as
him and
well.
Aaron.
Yeah. Well, A-Rod is MVP
Is he tripping off
caliber.
the shoes? Oh, I thought we were talking about rehab methods.
No, 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 no. And then the last guy that we've got on this list is Justin Fields. And if you watch our mock draft, which came out 2 days ago, definitely recommend checking that one out. You know that we have him sticking around with the Bears and being their quarterback. And I think that Getsy needs to be gone. And there was some insider information that came out that basically said Eberflus is almost gone. Like he's pleading his case right now as to why he should stay. And they've, obviously, if Eberflus is gone, then Getsy's long gone. Like he won't stay around. And so I think that if Eberflus stays, Getsy's gone. And if they get a quality offensive coordinator, load up some more weapons, I think Justin Fields is going to turn into a much better quarterback. And we said that last season when they got DJ Moore, but this time it's different.
This time, trust us more. I think he was definitely he didn't start off the season passing the eye test because they were making him be a pocket passer. But I think as the season's gone on, he gets in a stride. And I don't know if it's something clearly it's something to do with coaching, because they tried to force him into a box. He broke free of that box, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're pretty good. We forgot about this." And he did that the season before this one. Like he's done good in the later half of the season, kind of building momentum as it goes on. But if Eberflus were to leave, that would actually just make me worry more that they're going to take Caleb Williams, because
Yeah, new coach, new quarterback is kind of a popular thing.
yeah, and especially when it's a new coach and okay, rookie quarterback contract. It's
Yeah.
not even like, okay, we're going to pay somebody a lot. It's like, okay, I avoid paying someone a lot that I know was just the quarterback when the other head coach got fired. The other head coach is the one who staked his coaching on this quarterback. I don't want to,
Yeah.
because that just cost him his job. So I'm going to get Caleb Williams, and I'm shipping out Justin Fields for that second round pick or whatever they would fetch for him.
I will say though, there was an interview with DJ Moore, and DJ Moore has been a very big advocate for Justin Fields. He loves Fields and is a big guy for him. And he was asked about, what's going to happen here? Do you have any insight? And he just kind of smirked, laughed, and said, "I can't say anything yet." So
Yeah.
I like how that sounds. That gives me confidence. And obviously I don't think any decisions have 100% been made yet, but I feel like the Bears are probably leaning towards keeping Fields. And Ryan Poles loves his picks. We've been over this. He will see the king's ransom that is offered for that first overall pick, if not by the Commanders or Patriots, then by somebody, bordering
Falcons
on
down the
pick
board.
6, 7, 8. Yeah. Cause that would be, Falcons offer Kyle Pitts their 8th pick and 4 other future firsts and get Caleb Williams. And maybe it's not that insane, but I feel like if you're jumping like 2, 3, 4 teams that need a quarterback, you have to give up a dumb amount of stuff for it. And
For sure.
I think we could see something similar to the trade down that happened last year, where they're going to move down in the bottom half of the top 10 rather than move
Yeah.
down 2 picks and get a king's ransom for it, unless the offer from the Commanders or Patriots is that crazy. And it very well could be, especially, Commanders get a new coach. They want the best quarterback on the board, and that's going to be Caleb Williams. So they're going to pay up to make sure they can 100% get Caleb Williams. And if that happens, why would Ryan Poles say no to that?
Moving on. So prior to this season, we both collectively predicted 272 games each, and we both never want to do that again. But we're gonna go ahead, move past that. We are going to cover some preseason predictions I made, record wise, and also I made little paragraphs about some of the teams. I'm powering through this. I don't care. I do not care.
Sorry, guys.
We got the Joker over there.
Yeah,
Laughing gas going. All right, and with that, we're gonna kick off into the first of my predictions. I have made several, some of them good, some of them bad, and we're gonna open up with the Ravens here. The Ravens, I predicted to go 11-6. They were a bit better than that. I predicted an 11-6 record, and with an extended Lamar and a wide receiver core that is actually going to be worth something, the first time of his career that's happened, and hopefully less injuries,
they had Hollywood.
They would be playoff bound.
Hollywood was worth something.
Yeah, and then who was the 2-3? I mean, Rondell,
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah. And I said that they would hopefully be less injury prone, and I was correct, at least at the wide receiver position.
Outside of the running back position, yeah.
Yes.
We do have irrefutable evidence that Lamar Jackson is not, in fact, a running back, because he did not get hurt this year.
He did not get injured. Correct. Now, on the flip side, I had the Falcons going 8-9. Now, as correct as that is, the reasoning was very bad, because with a second year in the system and new weapons around him, Desmond Ridder will take advantage of the physical offense. No, did not.
He couldn't.
Did not happen.
He couldn't, because Arthur Smith doesn't like the offense.
I think Taylor Heineke might have been better to put a name in there, because he seemingly did more with what he was put in with than Desmond Ridder did. I also projected the Bills as a division winner, so can tip my hat to that one. And then I have the Panthers, who went 7-10 in my preseason predictions, and I kind of predicted the season correctly in a way. I said that Bryce Young does not have much to work with, but last season neither did the whole Panthers roster, and I think that they're going to be ending with the same record, because last season the Panthers went 7-10. Somehow, massive drop-off. But I did say that it wouldn't be Matt Rule's fault, and that it would be the growing pains of a young quarterback. And given the fact of his current job status, I think that someone thought it was Matt Rule's fault. And he's not even touching it. And someone new coach came in. Still, he was blamed. He's out of there. So I don't think you can just blame the growing pains of a normal quarterback, because he's not getting any taller. And with that segue...
Oh, real quick, I do want to, on your Bills paragraph, you had them losing a handful of upsets, which is exactly what happened this year. They lost to the Patriots earlier this year. I don't know if y'all remember that. The Patriots
You do.
beat the 2-seed Bills. I don't know why we did. It would have been so much better if we didn't. But alas.
Yep.
Anyway.
Speaking on teams we're fans of, sorry, we're not fans. It's the Bears.
We're bear leavers.
We're bear leavers. Thank you. I was setting you up for it. I had said that I expect the Bears to arrive with Justin Fields and DJ Moore, but the team still has some building to do. I was right on half of that. I predicted them to go 10-7. They did not. They did not make playoffs as I predicted. And we can dunk on this take swiftly moving off of that, is the Cleveland Browns going 4-13. And my explanation for that was, personally, I'm just a Deshaun Watson hater.
And Stefanski, and you best take that name out your mouth.
And Kevin Stefanski. And I would just love if the trade for Watson just blew up in their face. And, I mean...
It did.
It did, but they're still having success on the year despite that.
They got saved by some Flacco magic and by their defense.
If he started the full season, would they have maybe gone 4-13?
No. But
yeah, I know their defense. But I'm gonna live in fairy tale land and say that maybe they would have, because Deshaun Watson was throwing backwards passes. So yeah, shut up. I also said that the Broncos would go 7-10, and that Sean Payton and Russell Wilson will not come together for a playoff berth in their first year, but Sean will make Russ better. Russ was better than last season.
Sean doesn't like Russ, though.
They're not friends. It seems that way.
Buddy.
I had the Lions going 11-6. I said that they would drop some games to the top of the top. That happened. We played the Ravens. We got smacked. And that we have an easy schedule, and that with our offensive weapons, we would win some games. We have great offensive weapons. I send it to you. There's 4 players with 10 plus TDs, which is the first time since the Peyton Manning 2013 year, I think. His 55 passing TD year.
That checks out.
Yeah, and that's kind of, the boat they're in. I'm happy with that boat. And moving off of that, the very incorrect take of the Texans being 6-11, because with CJ Stroud behind a terrible O-line and underwhelming talent around him, they are years away from competing, but they will perform better than last season, as the rest of the division has figuring out to do. They're competing now. I will say the talent was underwhelming when they had Davis Mills throwing them the ball.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, they also brought in a lot of the talent this offseason. They brought in Nico Collins. They brought in
Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown as well.
Yeah.
Actually, no, Nico Collins
was there.
They brought in Noah Brown.
Yeah. So.
And Tank. Shout out Tank. Can't forget the man.
True. I said that the Rams would go 8-9. I don't know why I said that. I think in my original predictions, I didn't say they were 8-9, and I went through it and I was like, I'll lower that. But I said that they were a year removed from a ring, and that with young talent being injected into the team, they will win games because they have Sean McVay, they have Stafford, who's healthy, and they'll have Kupp, who's healthy. Kupp, a little less healthy this year than Stafford, but they make a return to playoffs. They make a return to, rather, one of them makes a return to Detroit. And we'll be getting into that with our playoff section here. But moving on, at the Jaguars, as this would have been a correct pick midseason. This would be a very, believable sentiment, because the Jaguars I had as up and comers, and that being realistic with their record, I thought that they could go 10-7.
I don't even know what happened with them.
I honestly couldn't tell you
what cliff they fell off.
Just a collapse. Yeah.
Where was the cliff?
I could honestly do some research on that, because it's just baffling to me. The Chiefs, I had their little paragraph as the Chiefs are good. They have young players who need to develop, and I could see them faltering early on. That falter has been a season-long falter.
More in the past few weeks than early on, though.
And I would say it's less on the young players and more on the wide receivers, who aren't all necessarily young. They're not all rookies. They're not all second-year players.
Yeah.
Some are established, and some are just still not reeling it in. The Raiders, I said that the Raiders wouldn't be better unless Josh McDaniels' play calling got better. Based on the fact that he's no longer their coach, his play calling did not get better. Neither did they. Next up was the Eagles. I had them going 11-6. That was correct. And I said that they would be a top team in the NFC. I'm not so sure that's true. I said that they would lose close games early on and that they would have to surge at the end of the season to make the playoffs. That's flipped. So while I was somehow correct on their record, despite having everything flip flopped, don't know.
You had them
Credit.
going like 6-6 and then winning out to make
Yeah.
the playoffs at 11.
To make playoff like good berth, yeah.
Not going.
Instead of the crumble they've been on, which we can also get into with our stat sheet. I had the Patriots going 7-10.
Dog,
I mean, I bet you're happy that was wrong, huh?
dog. I think I had the Patriots going better than that. Hold on. I had the Patriots going 9-8.
Making playoffs? Or you didn't mark that, did you?
I didn't mark that.
Okay. Well, my explanation for that was that the Patriots are no bloodbath of a division and that they would stick around in games thanks to their defense. I'm so far so good. And Mac Jones will prove himself a worthwhile starter.
Yay!
Oh, that did not
man.
that did not age well. And I think as I continue down this list, there's going to be some more that don't age well. I'm gonna skip to the. This one's just bad on so many fronts. I had the Steelers going 8-9, losing their streak, not making the playoffs, and I started that paragraph, that sentiment off with "While I believe in Kenny Pickett." Ooh.
Oh, buddy.
Oh dear. In my paragraph, I also said that I wanted to move off of Matt Canada, check mark, but that the only way they would is if Tomlin's streak ended, and they kicked him out the gate early. His streak didn't end. It's arguable that he got kicked out because the streak was looking like
that's what I was
going
to say. Is to be fair, their streak was looking real rough, and then they kicked out Matt Canada, and it didn't completely revolutionize everything, but they started getting Pickens the ball, and he went 4 for 195 and 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
And I'm gonna now skip back to something we both would have had very wrong, and I honestly think with both of these teams we would have had it really wrong. But Seahawks, I said, would improve from last season and would go 12-5, and that the addition of Devin Witherspoon, young players that would continue to be good, would be good. But Geno would take a step back. Not a big enough step to not help them go 12-5, but a step back that would make them kind of rethink their quarterback decisions. And so, while maybe part of that could be construed as true, definitely they can go 12-5.
Yeah, I think the only incorrect part about it is their final record. Like, everything you wrote is perfect. Young players good, Devon Witherspoon big addition.
Yeah.
But Geno took a step back. And I think that Geno's step back, and I think just the offense, like just the team's step back as a whole, like they had good parts, but they just couldn't pull out games, which is unfortunate.
Yep. And that leads us to our last team to discuss here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My original predictions, I had them going 3-13-1. You might be questioning, where's that one? I had them tying the Bills. My little sentence here kind of makes me feel some shame. That little preseason, the OTAs, rumor, hype, mill, ran amok. With quotes. The Buccaneers had Tom Brady and fumbled the bag with an 8-9 record. They are not coming close with Baker Mayfield.
And Kyle Trask. Shout out Kyle Trask.
Shout out Kyle Trask, but I mean, he took no snaps.
Yeah.
No.
Baker had a career resurgence. I don't know what else to say. It's like putting any quarterback on the Bucs in Madden. It's gonna work.
Facts.
So, yeah.
Oh man. All right, and that concludes the ups and downs of the preseason predictions for me.
Kicking off players by number for this week, we're going 81-90. And starting with 81, I've got Mike Williams. There were a couple decent tight ends. Jonnu Smith was one of them, as well as Hayden Hurst, Austin Hooper, and Mo Alley Cox. But to me, a healthy Mike Williams is going to be better than them. And I know we've kind of been wishy-washy on whether or not we're factoring in health to the equation. But I think when it's this much of like weapon and
A
then
toss up. Yeah.
and then just okay,
It's
solid players. Like, yeah.
yeah. There's a special element to Mike Williams when he plays versus a special element to any of the tight ends listed. They don't have that same element. They have like, oh, I'm a tight end. That's their role. They play it. But Mike Williams makes plays. So he's my pick here as well.
Then on to 82. I had Logan Thomas, but shout out Daniel Bellinger and Tommy Tremble.
I'll hop on your shout out train and I'll shout out James Mitchell, tight end 3 for the Lions, but Logan Thomas is the pick as well. He's a blocking tight end, so that's why I had to give him that shout.
Okay. On to 83. I had 3 guys written down. One of them's a big shout out. Other one's a fun shout out, and the other one's my pick. Big shout out to Willie Snead. Just a cool player. Not that good anymore, but when he was on the Saints, he was special. And then shout out to Noah Gray, because he has like one catch for 30 yards every single game. And then Tyler Boyd is my pick there.
Yeah. I had Juwan Johnson also listed here, and I had Tyler Conklin, just because Tyler Conklin had a better year than I would have thought he would have had. But looking at the prospects here, I mean, I will say, Juwan Johnson, I know his name. He makes good plays, but Tyler Boyd is the one that you know slightly more. So I'm going to be going with Tyler Boyd there.
On to 84. I had 2 names, and they were both pretty mediocre. I'm going to go see if, just triple check, make sure I didn't miss anybody big. But those 2 names are Kendrick Bourne and Cordarrelle Patterson. Outside of that, I mean, there really ain't much. Chris Conley, several years ago, would have been okay. Chase Claypool, when did he wear 84? Oh, he wears 84 with the Dolphins right now. He also wore 83 with the Dolphins. But we're not picking Chase Claypool for this. I went with Kendrick Bourne over Cordarrelle Patterson just because Bijan is taking all the snaps that Cordarrelle would have had. So
now, isn't Cordarrelle the return man?
He is, but I don't know if he's actively returning.
If he's actively this return man or just like seasons past. Either way, I'll go him. As long as he's still returning kicks, because I'll have a kick returner on my team.
Let me
a return specialist.
Returns, kick and punt returns. 2023. He took 7 kicks for 153 yards. Longest one was a 29-yard return. So he is not their full-time returner at all.
I'll stick with it because he's at least getting those reps.
Okay.
Kendrick Bourne means nothing to me.
85 is a big number. We've got 4 really good players. One of them is just a little bit better. Start out with 3 that I did not pick. That is David Njoku, Cole Kmet, and Noah Brown. Big shout outs to all of them.
All of them. Yep.
David Njoku is having a crazy year. He's extremely good. Joe Flacco's a big fan.
That Joe Flacco magic, yeah.
I know. He's just eating lately, especially. And then the guy I did pick, I think it's pretty obvious. It's George Kittle.
Yes. George Kittle is the no-brainer. Although, I will say, Cole Kmet, I'll give a little extra thumbs up to you.
Why?
Because he's a good tight end for Justin Fields to pass to.
Okay.
He's also huge and pretty good at pass blocking.
Mm-hmm. At 86, I had 2 names, Dalton Schultz and Zach Ertz. And then also shout out Darius Slayton, but I did not want to.
Shout out Darius Slayton, had him on my list. Did not have Zach Ertz, and I went Dalton Schultz.
I also went Dalton Schultz. Then now we get to the fun one. This is before the recording. Before the recording, I told you, hey, we're gonna have a fun discussion in players by number. Yeah. This is the fun discussion. And it's Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta. And
TJ Hawkinson. Don't leave him out of the combo.
Sorry, I didn't see hockey, man.
It's all 3 of them. This is like, as a Lions and Chiefs fan,
I'm excluding Hawkinson. Shout out Hawkinson. He's not being discussed.
He's not relevant to your conversation. All right, let's go.
So, beginning of the year, Kelsey all the way, no question. I would have scoffed at the notion of you putting Sam Laporta and Travis Kelsey in the same conversation. Halfway through the season, still would have gone Kelsey, no question. I would have been like, he's having a good rookie season, but it's Travis Kelsey. After these past few weeks, dude, I'm not convinced Travis Kelsey's a top 10 tight end at the moment. I have been operating this entire whole thing under I'm playing a game tomorrow with the player that I'm picking right now. So I'm not taking any future. I'm not taking any past. I'm not taking any of that into account. I'm not taking this guy's young, but he's
could also be
got potential
there.
I'm not taking, he's been really good, so I'm going to take him there. If you had to throw me into a game tomorrow with these guys, I'm taking Sam Laporta.
Now, all right. That's interesting. Because we can talk all we want about the stats of Kelsey because he's being super hardcore focused and the stats of Sam Laporta. I'm going to go Laporta here with you because of his blocking ability. Because he's got he's better than TJ Hawkinson. He's better than Travis Kelsey at the run blocking. He had some whiffs in the Dallas game. He's trying to go across formation to hit Micah Parsons. It ain't gonna work. But in just general, I'm a pass block, I'm gonna chip off of this and I'm gonna go out on a route, or I'm gonna run block. He's such a tool in run blocking that you can't use Hawkinson or Kelsey as that, while you could probably use Laporta in all of the same receiving threat that you want. You could plug them into those two roles for them, but you can't plug them into Laporta's role. So that's why I'm going Laporta.
Another
bit different from your slander.
Another justifier on the Kelsey thing, right? I think that he's had to do so much this season because the rest of the receiving core has been so god awful that he's just tired.
It's taken a wear on the
he's just old man tired. And when I say I don't think he's I do think he's top 10. I think that was a bit of an exaggeration. I think he's at 5, if not at 6. I think he might be top 5 right now. And I understand that conventionally he's the tight end 1. If he's not your 1, he's your 2. He's not though. If I'm going into a game tomorrow or if I'm going into a season next year, I'm not taking Kelsey over 5 guys.
Burgers and fries?
I would love a burger and fries right now. Moving on to number 88. I've got 2 names here. And that is Dallas Goedert and then my pick, CeeDee Lamb.
It's weird. So I had neither of those names. I had Sedarian Lamb because who's the CD guy? And I didn't put Dallas Goedert because it's a no-brainer for CeeDee Lamb.
89.
Yep.
Mark Andrews is who I got there. 89.
Mark Andrews is the pick. Alrighty, moving on to 90. I have a little short list of names here. Main shout out is going to be JPP. And onto the actual names.
I got
here.
more shout outs, bud. Nice try.
Who?
Christian Barmore.
That was one of my actual contenders. That wasn't a shout out.
Nah. Christian Barmore, DeMarcus Lawrence are my 2 shout outs. JPP, obviously, big shout out.
Yep. And then the one pick that we're both going with.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and say it.
TJ Watt.
Yep.
Top 3, not 3.
I will say DeMarcus Lawrence is closer than people would think. But it's TJ Watt. So
yeah,
lock that in at 90. And
I'm not going to get into the whole TJ Watt, Myles Garrett debate because I like Myles Garrett more simply because I don't like the Steelers, but that's just personal bias. That's not actual talent. So after that wonderful heated segment.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right.
Clinched
We're going to get into playoff talk now.
Sheet.
It's only an hour into the playoff-based video.
Exactly.
Let's get it. I want to start off with a game that's going to be very near and dear to my heart. The hometown kid comes back. Not very true. He went to Georgia, but
It's
Stafford
Stetson
comes
Bennett.
back to
Little known
Detroit.
fact.
Um, the Lions-Rams game is terrifying. I think this is this is the last team I want to face in the playoffs, and we have to face them in the wild card because I'm gonna be honest. If we could play the Niners, or the Eagles, or the Cowboys, or the Bucks, or the Packers, give me that matchup. But the Rams,
Niners is a
terrifying.
ballsy take.
It's a ballsy take, but give me the Niners over playing the Rams. And
I don't know if I'd go that far.
it's because they match up so great against us. We cannot stop a pass for our life. The run game that they have is super strong. They have super strong linemen. They make holds that I'm convinced our D line won't be able to stop at the same rate that they've been able to stop, aka second best in the league. The Rams play a very balanced game, and we are a very unbalanced defense. They can start passing it all they want over us, and I'm confident enough in their run game that they might be able to run the ball enough to make sure that they can pass that, like get those play actions, make sure that those all hit just as they want them to land. The offense for the Lions is great. You stack up the offenses of these two teams. You got fifth best at Lions. You got eighth best at Rams. You stack up their defenses, the 23rd ranked in scoring for the Lions, and then the 19th for the Rams. This could be an absolute shootout, or it could be an absolute like shutdown of the offenses. And I don't know which it's going to be. But if you give Matt Stafford the ball with any amount of time that is under like 6 minutes. Like if we hit the 6 minute mark of the game and we have the ball, I don't want to give them the ball back because Matt Stafford could break hearts. And I'm terrified of that matchup. And the two teams really make their difference in the fact of the Lions win by more points. They have a better point differential. But they played a way easier schedule. They didn't have to play the Niners twice. And I think that beating up on the NFC South doesn't really get us much merit in the category of playoffs. And so the Rams, who are more battle-tested against good teams, went to OT against the Ravens and didn't get stomped by the Ravens like we did. I'm worried. But I will cast it over to you to break down two teams from another matchup we've got going.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Dolphins and Chiefs. I just think that's going to be an interesting matchup. It's Tyreek Hill's return to Arrowhead, and it's two teams that I don't know what the hell's going to happen. The Dolphins can't play in cold weather, and it's going to be negative 16-degree wind chill in Kansas City for this game. So I don't know how the Dolphins are gonna work with that because they went to Buffalo and lost there pretty badly with Josh Allen throwing 3 picks. Like,
yeah,
that's not a good look. And they've been highly ranked in everything outside of their defense when it comes to scoring.
Yeah. Then defensively, the Chiefs are very good. And they're very good at stopping the pass specifically. And is there any update on Mostert? Is he maybe coming back? I don't know.
I thought he was questionable for last game, so I'd imagine he's going to be back for this one. But I don't think it really matters. I think Devon Achane's better. He averaged
I'm just thinking more so of like what will they be able to rely on the ground.
Yeah, true.
Through the air, I think it's going to be tough sledding.
I think so too, but I also think that Tyreek wants to hang 200 on the Chiefs' heads. Like,
yeah,
that's my only concern. Like, if
with how much he talks crap, I'd assume so.
Yeah, but my only concern with this matchup is that aspect of it. Like, if it was instead of Tyreek, if it was a different top receiver, like if it was Justin Jefferson instead, I wouldn't be as worried. I'd be like, well, they can't play in the cold, so it doesn't really matter. Chiefs are probably going to win. But the Dolphins have not been able to beat teams with a winning record all year. The Patriots have beat more playoff teams than the Dolphins. Or teams with a winning record. More teams with a winning record than the Dolphins. It's pathetic. The Patriots won, what was it, 4 fucking games? Yeah. Um, so I I just don't see the Dolphins winning it, but I also don't see Tyreek not having a career game if he stays healthy. And
Yeah. I
maybe
mean, offensively, the Chiefs are going to struggle. So if Tyreek hangs 200, Dolphins win. But if the Chiefs defense continues the stranglehold they have with the insane blitz packages they bring, the Dolphins won't be able to rack up the score. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one
I'm also
pans out.
worried. I'm also worried that the playoffs are going to awaken Patrick Mahomes, and he's just going
Yeah,
to go off and be like
January
perfect
Mahomes,
passer rating for 4 straight games and win another Super Bowl.
or they'll be down by 14 and there's going to be 2 minutes left in the half, and they're going to go into the half 21-14.
Yeah, something like that. It's going to be a real interesting one. Everything else here, I don't really have much to say about. But the record since week 10 is really interesting. It's been my favorite stat all year long. And the Eagles and Chiefs, the two Super Bowl teams from last season, are the two worst by far since
Yeah,
week 10. On to playoff pick'ems. I might make a fancy logo for this. I probably won't, but we'll
probably
see.
not.
So I'm going to, we haven't really talked about this at all, but what we're going to do is I'm going to go over my first round of the bracket, and I'm going to have my bracket displayed above us up there. And then you're going to go over yours, and it's going to be up there after mine.
Nice.
So
Thank goodness. I was worried mine might be down there, and I just wouldn't fit.
it just wouldn't, there's no space below
Yeah.
us. It's
Yeah,
just,
right down there.
yeah, right down there. Yeah, there's no space. Hey, go follow that.
Right.
Anywho,
Yeah.
so
Check those out. What's that? Links in the description.
in the AFC, you can see I've made this very, very, very cool graphic for the playoffs here. I spent a lot of time on it. And in the AFC, we've got the 7-seed Steelers going to Buffalo to match up with the 2-seed Buffalo Bills. I've got the Bills taking that one. I hope the Steelers don't make it at all far in this playoff run. And then in the matchup between the Dolphins and the Chiefs that we were kind of just talking about, got the 6-seed Dolphins, the 3-seed Chiefs, and I've got the Chiefs taking that one in Arrowhead. I think cold weather is going to be the downfall of the Dolphins, and playoff Patrick Mahomes is better than playoff Tua. And then in the third matchup of Wildcard weekend for the AFC here, we've got the Browns heading to Houston and playing the Texans. Say what you will. The Browns did beat the Texans a few weeks ago, but there was no CJ Stroud, there was no Will Anderson, and there was no starting linebacker that was out for the Texans as well. Those players are all back, and I think the Texans are going to go on a roll, and I think they're going to beat the Browns in the wild card round. I think that the Browns could definitely pull an upset. They could definitely win this one, and I don't even think it would be that much of an upset, but when you think of playoff experience and how the Texans don't really have that much of it, D'Amico Ryans was on the 49ers coaching staff for long enough that they've made the playoffs every year for like the past 5-6 years now, at least.
Something like that. At least three.
At least
Bare
three.
minimum three.
They made the playoffs a lot with D'Amico Ryans, and so he's used to a playoff atmosphere, and so I don't think he's going to waver or falter or anything. And CJ Stroud, national championship,
He's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him. He didn't win the Natty, but he did very well in the college football playoff against Georgia and proved why he should be a top 2 draft pick, and then is proving that correctly. So I think they'll be fine. And I think that maybe the rest of the team might have some playoff jitters, but I think that their 2 main guys are okay. And I know we've seen some struggles from younger players in their first playoff appearance, and Joe Flacco's got a ton of experience, and he's won a Super Bowl and, done all this stuff, but all remains to be seen. And then moving on to the NFC, I've got the 7-seed Packers taking on the 2-seed Cowboys. I will actually be at that game, so that's going to be fun.
Live tweeting is going to go crazy.
Live tweeting is going to go insane in standing room only. I've got the Packers taking that one over the Cowboys. I really could flip this, but I just needed some game to be an upset because I really don't think it's going to be the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed in the divisional round.
Yeah.
I just don't think
For
that's
both
likely.
sides.
But I could definitely see the Cowboys running up the score because Joe Barry is leading the Packers defense. But the Packers have been really hot lately, and as much as I hate to admit it, they've been good, and Jordan Love is good, and yada yada yada. Then 6 seed Rams taking on the 3 seed Lions. I'm taking the Lions there. They're at home. Matt Stafford's coming back, and it's going to be an emotional time, but I think the Lions are just a better team than the Rams. And then the 5 seed Eagles taking on the 4 seed Buccaneers. The Eagles were just the first seed for so damn long, and then they shit the bed towards the end. And I've got the Bucs winning that one. I can't see the Eagles taking any more. Like, I can't see them winning at all ever again.
If the Eagles win, they're 5th seed, and they would really need to pray they don't face the Niners, because then that's when the embarrassment is going to start up. But I'll power through mine. It's pretty similar in instances here. AFC side, I have the Bills over the Steelers. I don't want to see the Steelers. No one wants to see the kind of slugfest, especially without TJ Watt. That's
another thing.
The NFL script writers aren't going to let the Steelers move forward without at least something entertaining. And so the Bills are going to be the one to go there. Dolphins Chiefs, we spoke on it. They're playing at home. So this isn't the first away game for them. So we will see how Mahomes does now that it's January and he's going to be turning that dial all the way up. I had the Texans beating the Browns. I do think that the Browns have a very, very good shot, but I think that the CJ Stroud hype, the way he's been playing, is just going to cement itself in the playoffs. And then flipping over to the NFC side, I do have the Cowboys winning just because I don't have them losing to the Packers. I think if the Cowboys were playing the Rams, I would have them lose. I think if they were playing the Eagles, I would have them win. But because they're matched up with the Packers, I'm going to have the Cowboys winning that one. And then Rams, Lions. This one I'm just picking with my heart. Everything scares me about the Rams, but I'm picking with my heart and picking Lions because I'd rather be heartbroken than be correct.
Damn.
The Eagles and Buccaneers, I am going to be having the Buccaneers because likewise, I can't see them going. And it is the little dry of a selection where I'm only picking the higher seeded team in every single matchup. But the Eagles, why are the Eagles a less seeded team than the Buccaneers? It's how playoffs work. But man, they crumbled real hard to make that one happen.
Dude, they lost to the Giants. The Giants were up 24-0 at halftime, and no starters were pulled.
Against starters, they were 24-0.
Pathetic. Get Matt Patricia off the damn sideline.
I do want to note that if my predictions on the NFC side do come true, the Lions rematch against the Cowboys. So, get ready, Dallas fans, if I'm right.
Yeah.
That will conclude the episode. If you want to outro us out of here.
Just about it. Yeah. If y'all want to let us know who you think is going to make it to the Super Bowl, make your own brackets. Let us know what you got going on.
Put them down there.
Down there. And also,
past the description. Yeah. Subscribe. Like.
Subscribe.
I think that's where they are.
Down there. Follow the Twitter.
And check out the mock draft video.
Yes. Check out the mock draft. That was one we put so much time into. Oh my gosh. It was such a toll. It was crushing.
The film study.
Oh, we did so much.
And with that,
have a good one.